Warning. This podcast may contain spoilers from whatever TV show or movie is mentioned. Please listen at your own discretion. Welcome to Viewers Anonymous.
Yo, before we get into the episode, man, we just want to say congratulations to Jennifer Hudson for getting the EGOT, second black woman in history to get it. And she is a part of a special group, a select handful of people. Salute to Jennifer Hudson. Congratulations. All right, now let's get into this episode. Yo, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode, man. This is the Viewers Anonymous podcast. I am Scoots Bronson.
I am S. Foster.
That's right. What's up with you, bro? How you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing all right, man. Doing good. Just glad that I got the next 2 days off for people that really just about anywhere right now. I mean, but especially in the South, man, we're going through a heat wave. It's been about fucking 115 degrees like every day, sweating my ass off in the heat box that I call my FedEx truck. And I've been dying, man. So it's gonna be good to kind of just stay in the house for the next 2 days.
I hear that.
I need that time to cool off, man. But how you feeling? Everything good?
Man, everything is Gucci, man. Listen, you know what I'm saying? We got a heat wave here in Ohio as well. It's been in the upper 90s for the last 3 days. Tuesday it rained, but it was still humid as hell. You know what I'm saying? All week, besides Tuesday, it's been up in the high 90s. You know what I'm saying? In the building that I work in, it's around like 110, 115, somewhere around that. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not complaining, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm out here with the hoodie on, as you can see. You know what I'm saying? Hood up. You know what I mean? I'm thugging it out, man. I'm showing these people that, you know what I'm saying, it's all mental. You know what I'm saying? You gotta get out here. you gotta get out here and brave the storm, man. You gotta, you know what I'm saying, you gotta, get ready and weather it all, man. You can't let this heat tear you down. But I won't lie though. I have I have went home a bunch of times and fell asleep in the air conditioning, so I don't know if that counts.
Hey, I don't know why that shit just reminded me of so when I was in high school, right? My freshman and sophomore year, we went to football camp in Tampa, Florida, right? And so our coach, because our rivalry was Burns High School. I told you about this before, and they went to Pennsylvania for camp. They went to Penn State's camp. Yeah. So coach would be like, "Yeah, y'all, we about to whoop up on them. We down here in the heat. They going up there. They going up north. They ain't gonna be able to this and that, this and that." Man, they still beat our ass. But that ain't the point. But the point is, he tried to say that we was playing football in fucking 110 degree weather, and that was gonna somehow make us better than them because they wasn't in the heat like we were. But yeah, I didn't get that analogy, but it didn't really work. But I will say that I did come back probably like 4 to 5 shades darker, to where my mom didn't even recognize who the hell I was because it was so hot down there during 3 days. But yeah. But yes, it is a mental thing though. Some people that sit back and just keep complaining about the heat, it's just like, all right, man, obviously you can't take it because you can't shut up about it.
They're mentally weak, man. They let it break them down. The monks don't complain when it's too cold outside. Now they got on their robes, do they? You feel me? Not at all. So I figure, why not go ahead and throw this hoodie on and get out here and, bear this heat and get out here and see what it's really like, man. I'm out here, getting my body ready, getting mentally ready, for what's ever to come. I'm prepared for it.
I feel you. But I ain't gonna lie though. If I could just work in a tank top I wouldn't complain.
Nah, I don't think nobody gonna complain about that.
Yeah, I think I would be good doing that, but yeah, they ain't gonna let us do that. It's not gonna let her do that.
Hey
Now,
man,
granted,
your girl ain't gonna let you do that, man.
man, listen, man, that's the thing, man. Girls want to take tops all the time. You know what I'm saying?
That ain't the point,
Dudes
man.
want to
That
take
ain't
tops,
the point.
man.
That ain't the point. You already
It's
know how
over.
they are, man.
You want to take
Yeah,
top, you trying to show off, but they
yeah,
want to take
exactly,
top. They're just clothes.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. They
Like
hot.
what?
You can't be hot.
Yeah. What is this? It's crazy, man. The double standards, man. The double standards.
Hey man, we go through them.
Yes, sir. Man, listen. So we got a segment coming up that we almost did.
Man, yeah, no, I almost did.
Hey, we were so ready to get it off. We were
Yeah,
so ready to get it off, man.
because it was the pre-pro, bro. Like the pre-pro always mess me up sometimes, man. Like we be in them good conversations, and then next thing you know, bro, it's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, that happens, man. That happens, man. That's cause we got a good rapport, man. And then it just like then we be forgetting, man. Like we gonna have to like go back into the because like the thing like the one great thing about like doing like movies and TV shows and documentaries and all this type shit is that there's so much shit out there. And what I was about to say was like I was gonna say that man, we're gonna have to go back and start looking at the seeing the things that we have done because sometimes I be forgetting the movies that we done. And it'd be like, man, I might watch a movie, an older movie, and be like, man, have we done a podcast on this yet? And I have to go back and go check to see if we've done it yet. But we spoke about this before. I can't remember if we were recording or if we were just talking. But I was mentioning to you that Bill Simmons do the rewatchables, which we mentioned, a good bit on this podcast. And I was telling you that like they redo movies. And I was just like, yo, like there's some movies that I feel that we probably should end up redoing at some point because we end up changing the whole format of what we used to do. And like, for instance, like we probably should redo something like Juice because I felt like when we did Juice, I don't think I haven't heard it in years, but I don't think the episode was bad, but I just think that we had a totally different format back then. And then I think that Juice is one of those movies where if you watch it a different time, that's just like any movie really. When you watch it one time or 10 times or whatever, you go back and you watch it again and you might end up seeing something that you never saw before. But I think also when it comes to Juice, I think that we can have different perspectives that we had 2 years ago or whatever the case may be the last time that we did it. So it wouldn't be a bad thing to go back and redo movies, but it's just the fact that sometimes I just completely forget what we have done because we've done so many movies, but there's also so many movies that we could do. I think that that's what makes this thing great. And then these these perspectives that when we watch it, we both have like we have similar interests, but we also have different interests because with you being more of the comedy guy, for instance, like we did the movie Big, I never seen Big, you seen Big, but at the same time, there are movies that we would have watched for the podcast or even not for the podcast, and then sometimes there might be a situation where we'll start watching a new movie and then be like, "Yo, did you see this?" Or in my case, I tend to do this a lot. If I'm watching something, I text you, yo, like I'm watching this new movie, yo, you need to watch this shit. And then you'll watch it and be like, yo, we need to do a pod on that shit. So that's the one great thing about doing this is the fact that we're never going to run out of movies. And not only are we never going to run out of movies and TV shows and documentaries, even when it comes to appreciation episodes, like there's so many fucking different people out there and there's so many different legends out there that the fact of like, I mean, there's some actors and actresses and producers and directors and shit that we haven't even done yet that are complete legends in the game. Like we haven't done Robert De Niro, we haven't done Joe Pesci, we haven't done Ron Howard. You know what I'm saying? We haven't done Steven Spielberg. Um, shit. What are some other like? We haven't done Viola Davis. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to an actress, like so there's so many different things that we can do, and then different shit like we did the top 10 TV shows of all time, where we did our own separate list of that. One thing that I had put in there was like, yo, we shouldn't do, well, we shouldn't add sitcoms to this for the simple fact of I think that sitcoms should have its own different category. And the reason I'm talking so much, everyone, is because Scoots has went off the screen probably like 4 minutes ago. So I'm keeping this thing rolling. And I think that sitcoms should have its own category for the simple fact of I just felt like it's not that sitcoms don't have a storyline to it, but I just think that with sitcoms, the plot just isn't the same. But then you got the laughing audience thing that you add to it.
Sorry, could you say that again?
Yeah, I don't know why my Apple Watch always be bringing up this whole Siri thing, but we still can do different stuff like that, which we have not done. Well, we have done. We've done a couple of Marvel episodes. You know what I'm saying? Speaking about, well, we mainly really spoke about Phase 4. We haven't really talked about like the new phase. As a matter of fact, we haven't even really done any of the new movies that came out. Like we spoke about them briefly in the segment that we was about to do when Scoots finally come back, but like we didn't do what was it? Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We didn't do WandaVision. We didn't do Moon. Was it Moon Knight? We didn't do Moon Knight. We didn't do shit. We didn't even do. Wait a minute. Did we do that movie? Yeah, we did. We did do Black Widow. We did do that. But like when it comes to the Marvel universe, like we haven't done Shang-Chi. Like we haven't done any of the new ones yet. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We haven't done anything past Phase 4. Like we only spoke about it on like the segment that we're about to do. So that's some other things that we could do that we haven't even touched on yet. So I finally got Scoots back. But so I was just telling you like a few things that I was talking about as far as like with there being so many different movies and TV shows and appreciation episodes that we could do. And I was just saying that how we done episodes on the Marvel Universe, but we only done Phase 4. Like we haven't really done any episodes, like complete episodes on any of the new shows and stuff that came out. So there's still a lot of things to do, man. A lot of things that we could touch, a lot of shows that we could touch on and all that type shit. But uh I'm ready. I've been doing all the talking, man. So what you been watching, man?
Man, so I got two joints, man. So my first one is they both on Netflix. So, you know what I'm saying? Netflix is doing a great job rolling some stuff out until Stranger Things gets back. The first one though is a documentary. I think it's a 3-part documentary called Pray and Obey. It's about the FLDS Mormon cult by I think his name was uh Jeff Wack. No, what was his name? Waylon Jeff. I think his name was Waylon Jeff. But basically it's about this guy who takes over the FLDS, which is the faith something of Christ of Latter-day Saints. Is basically like the outcast of Mormonism. And then his dad, Ruling Jeff, was basically like the Pope of the FLDS. And then he dies off. And Waylon takes over for his dad. And basically, you know what I'm saying, like they're basically doing like the super fundamentalist things of Mormonism, which is like polygamy and all this other stuff. And basically he gets caught up with the FBI, with the CIA, and all these other guys that are pretty much watching them. And it's, you know what I'm saying, like all of this stuff is getting unearthed about him, like getting people married to underage girls, doing the whole polygamous thing, which was illegal in Arizona and Utah at the time. Like it was just a bunch of stuff that he was in there doing. He was taking people's businesses, kicking them out of the religion and stuff like that. Like it's a whole bunch of different stuff that was going on. So so that ended up happening, and then that's what I ended up watching. And then after that I watched another joint. It's a series on Netflix called First Kiss, and it's basically about vampires and vampire hunters. It has a very Shakespearean Romeo and Juliet tone to it. And the interesting thing about this one is it's between two girls. They're supposed to be in high school and all this other stuff, but it's basically a story of two girls who end up falling in love, even though one's a hunter and the other one is a vampire. So yeah, it's called First Kill. Check that out on Netflix. Listen, I wasn't supposed to watch it, but I ended up watching it, and it was alright. So check that out. Pray and Obey and First Kill. That's what I got. Both on Netflix.
Well, for me, they're on two different platforms, HBO and one. Well, I guess it really depends on what they got their own platform now, ESPN Plus. So the first one that I'm gonna speak about today is the one that I was so excited to speak to you about because I thought that you would have seen it already. But the first one I got today, HBO Max documentary, I would say, is George Carlin's American Dream, man. About the comedian, that came up past couple years. When he passed, like 2020. When in 2020 he passed away, I think so.
I'm not sure when Carlin passed.
But I guess I should know because I just watched it. But so this is about like his rise up in comedy, how he started in comedy, how he started in radio, and it talked about his upbringing. It talked about how him and his wife, the relationship between them, and how he reinvented himself doing comedy, how he ended up changing. Like when he changed, he completely changed his image and everything. Like he was button up suit, all that type of stuff. And then once he like kind of hit that hippie stage, he was just kind of like, fuck that shit. And he started growing his hair out, and he started growing a beard. And everybody was like, yo, you changed everything. You changed the way you did comedy, and you changed your appearance. And like it talked about that whole transformation of doing that. It talked about his downfalls of how he was addicted to cocaine, and his wife was addicted to alcohol, and she mainly started getting addicted to alcohol because he asked her to stay home and to raise their child, but she liked it to work and be on the move and all that type of shit. And I guess she felt alienated doing that, so she took up on more drinking and smoking. So, and then how she ended up getting sober, and then she ended up being like his executive producers, doing like booking his shows, producing all of his specials and all that shit. So it's a lot, man. It's a lot. It was I learned a lot about George Carlin, man, because the only thing I knew about him, I never seen like the complete specials, but I've always seen like clips of like things that he talked about. And it was some of the shit that I think, if I remember correctly, I remember Uncle Washington mentioning him. And his type of comedy, I could see how Uncle Washington would fuck with him because you know, the way that he looked at like religion and like stuff like that. Like he just had this one little joke that I just got to get off real quick. Like I don't know it verbatim, but he was just like he was talking about how religion is, you know, kind of like full of shit or whatever. I forgot how he brought it up. He was just like, yo, he said they'll get us to believe anything. He said there's an invisible man in the sky that sits up there and watches every single thing you do 24/7, you know, 365 days a year. And he was like, then if you do something wrong, you got to apologize and he'll let you into heaven. But if you don't, he was like, you're going to go down to hell and you're going to burn for eternal, you know, into the end of time and all this type shit. But it was just so funny the way that he said it. It's just like, yo, like, really, really think about that. Like, if you told somebody, yo, there's an invisible man in the sky that watches everything that you do, and it's just so fucking funny. But so yeah, y'all should check that out on HBO Max, man. George Carlin's American Dream. And the other one that I got, dude, you gotta stop playing around, man. You gotta see this. So new 30 for 30 came out. I think it came out like 2 weeks ago. I'm saying the greatest mixtape ever.
Yeah, I know.
Yo, when I tell y'all, it brought back so many memories. Man, I can remember the first time my cousin Mike brought in VHS, y'all. You know what I'm saying? VHS. And this is what you got to understand. Like, for the people that don't really remember those times, like, I don't even know how that tape even got to South Carolina. It got to my cousin's hands because, like, those mixtapes, man, they was mainly up in New York. And I remember that first guy, man, the one person that kicked it off, man, this dude was in high school, killing grown ass man, Skip to Malou, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Rayford Austin, the only and one player that ever played in the NBA. And they talked about how they talked about the marketing plan that they came up with, how you would get a mixtape to buy the and one shoes. So like when you went to buy the shoes, you got a mixtape to go with it. But then it was like people started dubbing the tape.
Yep.
And so then people started selling the tapes, and like the tapes got so out of control and started spreading all through the map. Like everybody started, and then the crazy part was, and I didn't know this, you know that the tape didn't blow up until Skip to Malou, Rayford Austin was already in NBA. So people seeing him as a kid playing street ball, finally, and this dude is already in the NBA. And like I didn't know it took that long to get it going, because I think he was 18 at the time, and I think he went to college for like maybe a year or two, and then he went to the NBA. So man, y'all really should watch it, man. That was a time, and when they really combined, that's why they call it the greatest mixtape ever, because the DJ that did it, like he had like his original, like the first mixtape was like his original music, and he talked about, and we'll get to the presentation here, but he was talking about how, so he had the tape, he's playing the tape, and then like it just happened to catch when like a 808 would drop, like when somebody dunked, he was just like, oh my God. So then he started timing the music up to like jump shots and dunks and stuff like that. And he was just like, yo, this is about to blow everybody away. So that's when you really got that combination of hip hop and basketball until Allen Iverson came to the league. So, because you know he kind of brought hip hop to basketball, but that was the first thing
he brought street ball to the league too.
Yeah, because Rayford Austin didn't play like Skip to Malou. You know what I'm saying, in the NBA. You know, so
like you had guys like Sham guy who was doing like certain moves and stuff, but like just the whole crossover appeal, the you know what I'm saying, freak layups, you know what I'm saying, like stuff like that. Like he brought that street ball energy and that street ball style, you know what I'm saying, to the league, and actually made it cool to play like that. you know what I'm saying, the tattoos, the chains, and everything else. Like, that was Iverson ushering, you know what I'm saying, not just hip hop, but street ball in there as well. And then the dopest thing, because I haven't watched this yet, but, you know what I'm saying, I was there, you know what I'm saying, for the N1 mixtape era. You know, like, they had such a different vibe going on. Like, I remember, like, they used to be playing. There used to be a dude with a microphone. They used to have an MC on the court
Yep.
during the games. You know what I'm saying? Like, they had a tour. They had, you know what I'm saying? Like, they had a show on ESPN. Like, the professor, you know what I'm saying? He's still going around and he, you know what I'm saying, doing certain stuff, playing street ball and doing things off of the N1 mixtape tour.
That was my only thing that I didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even mention him at all. And I thought that maybe they didn't because of the timeline that they was trying to follow.
Yeah.
But like they talked about and he was on there hot sauce. So they talked to hot sauce and all that type shit. And he came right after hot sauce.
Well,
they only talked about the fourth.
Yeah, because remember when the show came out, that was like on the tail end of it though.
And so they didn't even like. I thought they at least would like brought him in to an interview or something, but they didn't even mention the professor. But yeah, I thought it was dope, man. It brought back old memories, man, of those N1 mixtapes, and like
they had a basketball game,
and they
had a video game.
Yeah, and they didn't really make no money.
No, I'm sure they didn't because at the time it was crazy, but they definitely had a video. I had it.
Yep. Yes, sir, man. So, man, we gotta finally get into it, man.
Yeah, man, this one was crazy to say the least.
Man, who you telling, man? This is actually, I think, the second one that they did to have that title of Conversation with a Killer. The first one was Ted Bundy. Yeah. This one is John Wayne Gacy that we're doing today. John Wayne Gacy was, boy, he was an interesting cat, man. He was ended up being convicted. Yeah, he was definitely a weirdo, man. He ended up getting charged for murder, times 33, sodomy, sexual assault, indecent liberties with a child. That was all the things that he was charged of. He ended up
rape.
Well, yeah, they don't have that play here, but he ended up being executed. It took them a long ass time. It took them like 10 years to finally execute him. Like that was, it was 14.
It was 14.
14. Yeah, it was 14. Yeah, it was like, yo, like 14. What the fuck? But yeah, man, he did most of his shit, you know what I'm saying, in Chicago, Illinois. Well, really, I think all of it in Chicago, Illinois. Well, at least in the Illinois area.
Right.
And this is the thing, man, that I want to get into, man. I'm jumping right into it. This is the one thing that pissed me off about John Wayne Gacy, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's some other shit, but okay, let me just get to it. See, y'all will get what I'm saying. So, white privilege, man.
Oh, my goodness.
So, when it comes to John Wayne Gacy, you know, this dude owned his own business, own construction company. This dude was at Democratic events. This dude actually got a picture with Jimmy Carter, President Jimmy Carter's wife. You know what I'm saying?
He was a campaign manager.
Who else? Ted Bundy. Like we spoke about this dude. Like so, yeah. But what pissed me off was the fact of this dude, and I know like back then things was a little different because he ended up getting charged of a crime in where was it? Was it Idaho? No, it wasn't Idaho. I think it was Iowa. I think.
Iowa.
Where he got the sodomy charge.
Yeah.
And so he was able, and that's another thing. This dude was sentenced to 10 years. And he got out in 18 months.
Yep.
So that's one thing that was bullshit. Then he's able to go back to where he's from, to Chicago. And his probation is done. Everything is gone. Like, he got a clean record. So he goes and starts his own business, right? So this dude is running a whole construction business where he only hiring damn 18-year-old kids and raping them and killing them and shit. But I will get to that. But what I meant by white privilege was the fact of like like when I do this little series that I have on 28 Minutes or Less, and I always speak about this, like when you look at how these dudes ran their enterprises, you know what I'm saying, whether it was the Chamber brothers or whether it was the Smith brothers or Felix Mitchell and all these guys, even Ricky Ross, like they ran it in an intelligent way.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they wasn't afforded the opportunities to be able to start their own business. So they ended up getting in the drug game, but they ran it like you would run a real business, but they didn't have the opportunities afforded to them like a John Wayne Gacy was. So this dude is doing all of this immaculate shit, but then at the same time, he's killing people on the side and shit. But you got these other guys who are probably just as smart as John Wayne Gacy, but they didn't get the opportunities to be able to start their own business. And I think that that's why when I do those episodes, I always tend to mention that because like all of these guys wasn't out to be bad guys. Like these were the only opportunities that they felt that they had to take themselves to that next level because the opportunity just wasn't there. And to see the things that this guy was able to get away with for the amount of time that he was able to get away with, I was just like, yo, boy, you want to talk about white privilege? Like this is that at its best when you talk about John Wayne Gacy.
100%, man. It's crazy to see how a lot of these guys moved around, especially around like younger boys or, you know what I'm saying, like people who were kind of on the down and out in the 70s and, you know what I'm saying, early 80s. And the one thing that you kind of see is that a lot of these guys tend to prey on the weak or people that they see themselves in. So like a lot of these, a lot of the victims that John Wayne Gacy had, you kind of seen that once you know what I'm saying, once you got towards the end of the docuseries, you seen that a lot of these guys were like who he, you know what I'm saying, kind of mirrored in a weird way. Like, or even not even mirrored, like even some of the murders that he did were kind of like a mirror of the way he was treated as a kid, or so he said. You know what I'm saying? Because like he was a very compulsive liar, so you didn't really know what to believe with him. And so when when you hear the stories about how he was picking up what I'm saying, young boys and using them for work, and then after that he pick one and find one and then chill with them or whatever weird shit that is. Like, who the fuck chills out with like an older dude like that? Like,
true.
And once again, like, this is the thing we had talked about with Big, like just the differences in cultures. Like, bro, there was no way at 17, 18, like some dude could ask me to work a job, I'd go do it, and then he'd be like, hey, you want to hang out after this? No, man. I got friends. I got other stuff to do. You know what I'm saying? The only reason I'm working for you is because you paying me. But like outside of that, like, bro, we would never talk at any, like, my boss could never be like, hey, you want to hang out? No, man. Not me and you by ourselves. What kind of weird shit is that? You know what I'm saying? Like, so it was just like, it was. I mean, like, he was basically asking these dudes out on a date, bro. And then it was so weird. Like, I mean, just him himself was just weird. Like, I remember when he was talking. They had one of the tapes they were playing where he was talking to the investigators, and he was like, "Yeah, I think it was his girlfriend or his wife or whoever she was, and he was talking to her about it, and he was talking about her, and he was saying how he was bisexual, and then he was like, yeah, he was like, but I never, I never would do anything one-on-one, you know what I'm saying, with those guys because I'm not gay. It was like, I could never be gay. He was like, I despise them. And the weird thing to me was like, no, dude, you are gay. Like, this is the root of your problem. You just won't accept it that you're gay. To me, that's what this whole thing was about. It was just the fact that he was just a gay dude. who didn't want to be, either he didn't want to be gay, or you know what I'm saying, he was too scared of letting society know that he was a gay guy.
I think it's the second thing. I think that he just didn't want the circles that he traveled in. He
Yeah.
didn't want those people to think that he was gay. And the one thing that I do hate about this documentary, and they tend to do this a lot, is now his mother did testify and say that, you know, his dad was hard on him. He used to beat him a lot, all this other stuff like that. So maybe he wasn't necessarily
Man,
lying
that
about
nigga
that
was
part.
probably getting regular whoopings.
True, but I also feel like when they start getting into this whole trauma stuff of like how he was raised and this and that and this and that, it's like, yo, look, there's a lot of damn kids that grow up getting that. Like, I
Man,
didn't
listen.
get I didn't get whoopings. I got beatings, and yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
felt a lot of them was for no fucking reason. But I didn't go out here and start killing motherfuckers. Like, I feel like I hate when they do that shit, man. Like when that whole thing of like they did it with Ted Bundy as well. On not in that movie that we did, but one of the documentaries that I watched. It probably was that conversation with a killer joint. Was like I feel like they try to like justify it of like, oh well, you know, he could never satisfy his dad, and his dad used to beat him, and no, like man, get that bullshit the fuck out of here, man. Like all of us go through some, you know what I'm saying, some traumatic shit when we was kids. That didn't mean that we got out here and started killing people because
Exactly.
we went through some trauma when we was young.
Right.
I hate when they do that shit, man. I really do.
And it's one of those things too, like you start to see how, even in the documentary, like after a while, like they was trying to get you to kind of feel sorry for him in a way, which I didn't necessarily agree with. I didn't think, like, just because of his position and the things he was doing, like I didn't necessarily feel like he should have any type of sympathy. Um, Especially, with the way he was attacking some of these guys, like with the whole Slipknot thing. Like,
Yeah.
I understand, some people really go through some of these things and like go through real torture and stuff like that. But there's no way you're convincing me that this dude's dad was putting him down there in the basement and using slip knots to make him pass out and all this other stuff. This is something that this dude just really had, some real type of issue. He really
Yeah.
had some real type of, problem. And like when you listen to him talk to, the detectives and the investigators on the tapes, you can hear it in his voice. Like the dude had a real issue. And it wasn't like, to me, I don't think it was a mental thing. I think it was, he really, just like most guys in this criminal field, like they really think that they're smarter than everybody else.
Yeah, they're
They
just
really
like
think that they have a step ahead of everybody else.
when he said at the end, he was like, "Yo, I killed over 30 people,
Mhm.
and they only gonna be able to kill me once, so I outsmarted
Mhm.
them." Like the fuck, like how did you outsmart them? Yo, once you die, game over. Like it ain't no outsmarting nobody. Like what the
Well,
fuck are you talking about?
yeah, it really was no outsmarting anybody. Like you killed him and then you told on yourself.
Yeah, and then
You
you
literally told
tried.
him where all the
Then
bodies
you
were.
you told on yourself, and then you denied it in the same sentence.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you talking about?
Well, and the thing was, it was so crazy because they said that when they had went to go search for his house, I mean, when they went to go search his house in the attic, they found that book about him pleading insanity,
Yeah.
and they had the law book about it or whatever. And the crazy thing was, is like 1 minute he'll tell on himself, and then he'll go, "Yeah, but I mean, like they got me in here, and I don't know what I'm in here for. Like they talking about I killed these people, but I don't even remember it. Only thing I remember is killing two people." I'm like, what? What? What?
Like what did you? Yeah, I'm like, you listening to it. You like, do he know? Do he even know what he's saying? Like,
Well, yeah, it just seemed like he had a plan, but like as he was trying to go along with the plan, he was just messing it up.
man, that dude was a complete idiot, yo. He
Yeah,
think he's smart, But then at the same time, it's kind of like, dude, you are not this smart. But then at the same time, how you gonna plead insanity? But you run a whole business. You're a campaign manager.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You being
Mm-hmm.
seen in the lights of all these people. You're a clown on the side. Like,
Mm-hmm.
dude, no one is going to believe that you're crazy. Now,
Exactly.
what you're doing some crazy shit where
Yeah.
they found fucking 29 bodies under your house. That is some weird shit, yo. Like, you're
Bro.
going in there, you doing your regular shit, eating, taking a shit, you know what I'm saying, going to sleep when you know there's 29 bodies up under you.
Bro,
That is
you got
the
a mass grave. You basically your house is sitting on you turned it into a mass grave.
that is so nuts, man. Like, that is now, like, that part, like, yeah, it's crazy, but it ain't to the point where you're crazy enough to where we only gonna put you in a facility. Like, no,
Right.
you like, it's not that type of crazy. And like, then when they brought that doctor on, like, he said, like, yeah, like, he has these different compulsions. He does have a mental problem, but it's like, I mean, technically he has a mental problem, but he
Yeah.
knew what he was doing. You can
Right.
have a mental problem and know what you're doing at the same time. You know what I'm
100%.
saying? Kanye claims that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So he does. He'll be like, "Yo, I'm bipolar, but I'm a superhero at the same time. Like, I know I can control. Like, dude, if you bipolar, you can't control the shit. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, like, man, you brought up a great point. Like, he will sit there and say, "Yo, I don't remember what I was doing. I don't know what I'm in here for. I only killed 2 people. The fuck? Like, it's like, you have to, like, really let that shit register in your head, because you listen to him talk to these investigators and you like, dude, like, what are you doing? What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And then he just ended up marrying a girl with his second wife, because his first wife that he had 2 kids with divorced his ass, and he was like, he ain't seen his kids since 1969, because when his wife left him when he got sentenced to 10 years, she divorced him.
Yeah.
And he was like, that was the last time that he saw his kids before he got arrested. And it's just like, it is so weird to sit here and hear. We spoke about this on the last episode of, like, it's just crazy how that shit ended up lining up, y'all. We really did not do this shit intentionally to do
Right.
Ted Bundy, and now we're doing John Wayne Gacy. It just happened to fall that way, and I just realized it. But we were just talking. You were just saying, like, yo, like, these dudes was living like regular lives, like doing shit that
Mm-hmm.
regular people do, and they just got this whole side life of just killing people on the side, and nobody knows anything about it. It's
Well,
nuts.
his whole method was weird because it wasn't just the fact that he was picking people up, it was the people that he was picking up, right? Like, he wasn't picking anybody up that was like local. He was picking people up from out of the way. Like, he was picking people up from another town, or somebody who would be visiting from Dallas, or, you know what I'm saying, another state. And then by the time you even get a chance to, you know what I'm saying, meet this dude, he's like, "Hey, you want to come hang out?" You don't really know nobody there, so you like, "Yeah, sure, you know what I'm saying, we can hang out." Then you go there and it's just you and him, and then, he talking about smoking a joint. You smoke a joint, next thing you know, you got a fucking chloroform napkin all over your face.
Yo, but the crazy thing is how he was just literally hired, and even people around town end up thinking it was kind of weird. Like, why
Mm-hmm.
are you hiring inexperienced, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids?
Right.
And he's like, oh, well, I'm just, hiring these kids, to give them a start and all this type of shit. But then you're killing, like, dude, that is so weird. You're killing the people that you're hiring, so you continuously hiring people. I don't think that's a smart way to run a business.
Yeah.
Like, like, and then your workers keep coming up missing.
Well, the crazy thing is that nobody knew that he was hiring these people. So, and this is like, this is just, it's so outlandish to me how nobody was like communicating, hey, I'm going to work with this guy at such and such, like, or hey, this guy offered me a job, da da da. Like none of this shit was going on. It was just, come work for me. You work for me, and then I'm like, yeah, let's go back to this place and have a, have a beer, man, and relax. And then he's like, yo, I got a trick I want to show you. And then like he's getting out of handcuffs, and then he's like, you try it. And then you do a stupid move like try to handcuffs. He's like, all right, now how you get out? Oh, you gotta have the key. Like, like what do we do? Like, first and foremost, nobody's putting handcuffs on me at all. Like in any circumstance other than me getting arrested. Like that's the only time I've ever had handcuffs on me. Like, but outside of that, no, I'm not willingly putting handcuffs on. Nobody's willingly putting handcuffs on me. Like that's just not something that I'm down to do. Like what would be the psyche of these guys, man, to just be like, yeah, I'm gonna go chill out with this mid to late 30s older dude who, first and foremost, there's no women around him. It's just me and him, and we kicking it and doing nothing. And then like the other weird part about it was like they were talking about how he was picking up the male prostitutes. And it was like, dude, like they just trying to make a way, bro. Like why would you go through all that and kill him for what? They don't even know you. Who are they going to tell that you're doing this? They don't even know you.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Like, and then like I just can't get over the fact of, and I know times are different because when he ended up doing getting the sodomy charge in Waterloo, Iowa in '68, it was just like, so like I mentioned earlier, you get sentenced to 10 years, but then you don't do 18 months. But this is the crazy part. So when he's locked up in Iowa, a man ended up getting it, being in charge of the food. Like he's like the top chef or whatever. And they was like Gacy was like, if you got smart with him or anything like that, looked at him the wrong way, this dude would put rat pellets in your food, yo.
Yeah, he was just one of them people who seemed like he was just mad at life. He seemed super insecure. Like everything about dude just seemed like he just had an issue with everything going on except for just taking accountability of who he was as a person. Like just like even when he was talking about how um and I know I'm jumping around with all these different instances, but I mean, like when you're talking about him, it's bringing him up. But like even when he was talking about how as a kid, you know what I'm saying, he would wear his mother's underwear. And when the psychiatrist was talking about it, they were saying like this is the closest thing that you know what I'm saying, because his mom was so loving towards him, you know what I'm saying, that was the closest thing that he had to, you know what I'm saying, her love in the moment. And I was like, well, when he was talking about his mom and he brought it up, he was like, well, when she said, why are you wearing my underwear? And he was like, well, she made me wear it as a punishment. And then he said, well, what happened if, you know what I'm saying, you did it again? And then, you know what I'm saying, they said, well, she said, well, if you do it again, then I'll make you wear it outside. And it was like, that's not love. Like, so
Yeah.
what was he possibly telling you guys in that session to where you thought that that's what, you know what I'm saying? Like you thought that, you know what I mean? Like it just seemed like every time he talked or every time he would get interviewed or not, interrogated, like it was always some type of lie. Even the lawyer had said that. The lawyer was like, I mean, it's kind of hard defending this guy who he's not even telling me the truth. So I
Yeah.
don't even really know what's what. You know what I mean? So it's like dude was just he. I don't want to keep saying weird, but he was such a. I want to just keep saying like he was a compulsive liar, man. Like that's what this dude did. He lied about every single thing, and it was just it's crazy that he was really out here doing all these things, and then he goes and he gets caught, and it's not like, you know what I'm saying, like he's a common looking person. Like there's no other dudes out there that's looking like him. First off, he's going around in like this Knight Rider leather jacket. And then like he has all of these badges. And then he has a car with a spotlight on it. Like how do these police not know who to look for? Like
Yeah.
it's just a common thing to see somebody riding down the street with a spotlight. You mean to tell me the police never saw this dude?
Yeah, he was definitely a strange individual. But to finish that point, which I mean, I said it before, but it was just the fact of like this dude was able to basically now I will say this: while he was locked up, he did see another dude. You know what I'm saying? Get some skull from another dude, and like he was like mad about it. And it's like, are you mad about it because you ain't getting the skull or giving it or what? But like, it's like he hated.
I think he was mad at the fact that, and it was telling when he said that, you know, when he was talking about the gay dudes and he was saying like, you know, I don't like them, I'd kill them. Like that was seeing himself in a sense. So like in his head, when he's seeing them, he's seeing himself. At least that's what I think. Like I think he was seeing himself, and because of that, you know, and I'm sure that the reason he probably was getting whoopings and beat on and all that other stuff by his dad was because he was a little feminine. And
Yeah,
in that
and
time, you know what I'm saying, like that's not something that was widely accepted.
oh yeah, in that time, man, like dads will fuck you up, man, if they
Yeah,
start seeing you doing some shit like that.
100%.
But yeah, man, really though, a lot of this shit end up getting kicked off because of Robert Peace, man. Um, like basically on December the 11th, 1978, Gacy visited the Nissan pharmacy that was in the plains, and like he basically was supposed to have been doing, like he was looking around the pharmacy, looking at, you know, trying to renovate it or whatever the case may be, looking at
Hmm.
repairs and all this type shit, and he ended up seeing Robert. And the way the story goes is Robert told the girl that was working up front, like, hey, because she was wearing his jacket because she was running the register and said it was cold. And so
Hmm.
he asked for his jacket back because he wanted to go outside and talk to this dude about a construction job.
Yeah.
So he goes out there to talk to him, and then my man come up missing. And what's interesting about this, because like this kid was the one that really kicked this whole thing off.
Hmm.
And what I didn't understand, there's always that one where they go outside of the MO that they regularly don't do, and that be the thing that fucked them up. Like with
Yep.
Ted Bundy, right? We talked about last week. Well, not last week, but last episode. That one killing that he did in Colorado, he cut this one girl head off. That wasn't what he normally done.
Hmm.
Like he didn't cut people's head off. And in John Wayne Gacy's point is he didn't go, like he didn't pick people up at a place where he was like basically like looking at doing work at. Like it was
Right.
just weird. Like it didn't match. Like this didn't match his MO. And that's what ended up setting this whole thing off, and how these other bodies ended up being discovered was because the girl that worked up front was able to identify this dude, like, yo, like he went out to talk to the dude that's working on the store, like,
Hmm.
and now he's missing. Like nobody know where he is.
Yeah.
So that was the one disappearance that really kicked this whole damn thing off. And then the crazy part was this was the one that kicked it off, but this is also was the last body that they found,
Yeah.
because he ended up, well, the way the story goes was the police had like when he had killed Robert, my man had ended up, somebody ended up coming over and they wanted to talk to him. And he was like, yo, like I just got a phone call, my uncle or somebody just died or some shit like that. And he's like, you know, I'll come talk to y'all later. And so what he ended up doing is he had put the body up in the attic, and then he remembered like, oh shit, the body's up in the attic. I gotta go get that body up out of here. He goes dump him in the river, and then Once he go dumping him in a river, he end up getting in a car accident. Police end up pulling this dude out of ditch, and then he go to the police station, think that he gonna talk to somebody in homicide or whatever at 3:00 in the morning, and it was like, yo, I come back in the morning, all this type shit. But like they end up not finding that body because that was in end of December. They end up not finding that body until like April. Because they said that when it's cold as it is, like the body end up staying at the bottom, but once it gets hot, he's like your body started releasing gas, and that's when his body started to finally float up. And it's just like for that to be the last body that they found, but this was the body that kicked this whole thing off to where they found 29 bodies just in there, and
on the property, bro.
On his own property.
Yeah, they had to literally level his house just to find the rest of the bodies.
Dude, that was crazy.
Because they found, I think they said it was up to 14 under the floor of the house, and then they said they found one by the driveway in the back, and then they found another one. They found another one somewhere, and that's it. It got up to 16 at that point, and then they had to literally continue to take the house apart because they went in and they literally like demolished the whole inside of the house. And instead of an investigation, it was an excavation. So they literally went and excavated that whole land. And in that one area under the floor, it was at least like 8-9 bodies that they were pulling out of there. Like the dude who, I think he was a regular cop, but he was down there with him, and he was like, we thought we were just, going into this, it's like this little nook or whatever. He said we come to find out that we were actually stepping into a grave, and it was just like countless bodies down there. And he was like, that's one thing that I'll never forget is just, that's something that always sticks with me is seeing those bodies. And he was like, in the way that they were placed, some were face down, some were face up, some were sideways, back to back. Like, it's just crazy that, this dude was literally going in, killing people, tearing his house up, burying them under his house, and then fixing it right back up like it was no issue. And remember when he was talking to the one guy about digging he was digging the hole for the fire pit or the barbecue grill. Mm-hmm. He was like, he digged it. I think he said like 8 to 10 inches. And he was like, yeah, it got to be deeper than that. He was like, huh? He was like, yeah, it should be deeper than that. And he was like, okay. And he did. He said the next day he comes and the cement's already laid for it. So,
crazy, man.
It's nuts, man.
Yeah, this was definitely nuts, man. It was an eye opener at the same time, man, because I think that from the documentary that you may have seen of him in the past, I think what makes this one completely different is the fact that like these tapes wasn't available up until this one. And to hear the way that he talked about it and just how he really did not care. Like he did not care. Like he didn't feel any sympathy for any of those kids that he killed. He didn't feel any sympathy for the raping, the killing, the fact that these kids were just missing, and then the thing about the 70s and 80s and shit, like they didn't really take some of the shit serious. They'd be like, oh man, he probably ran away, man. He'll come back. But then those times were so different, man, because back then, I mean, you could leave your parents' house 17, 18 years old and you start a whole new life and never go back home.
Well, you bring up an interesting point about how the police really weren't taking, like these accusations serious, because remember when the one guy had came to them when he woke up on the steps, he went to the police and told them, and they was like, well, they didn't take it serious. They were saying that maybe it's just, him being a gay man and another gay man, was, basically having sex. And he was telling them that no, he said, he basically raped me and, and then dumped me out on the street, and they didn't even take that serious. You know, especially during those times where, you know what I'm saying, like gay people didn't have like any rights.
Any rights, yeah.
So then, like, you know, for them to say that about him, and you know, he's telling them this story and giving them this type of information, and they're not even taking it serious. That just goes to show you that, you know, not only was it, you know, a crazy situation, but it was also poor policing.
Yeah, but also it's poor policing, but also at the same time, like back then, and they said it in this documentary, was that they they never looked at a situation of a man could be a victim.
Right.
You know
Yep.
what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like how
Exactly.
can a man be a victim of rape? Like that's like they looked at it like it wasn't a thing, and they actually had this gay activist on there, and she was like speaking on the times of how things were for gay people in the 80s and stuff like that. It was just like, yo, like they did not take these things serious, and they really just looked at it like, you know, no man could be a victim of rape. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why I say, man, John Wayne Gacy, man, he was just he's a very interesting one because I can't really just give with the fact of like when you hear about some of the serial killers, like they're like bury bodies like all out through the woods, or you know, whatever the case may be. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like you remember in Mind Hunters when they was talking about the Atlanta child murderer, like
Yeah.
they were just finding bodies like all over the place. This dude was putting the bodies under his fucking house. Like he's eating, sleeping, and like well, all these bodies are just like, dude, that's really some sick shit. Like,
And not only that, man, just the fact that, you know, you think about it, they had all of these missing kid reports and missing people's reports, and because he had them under, you know, his because he had them under the house, there was no way that these people were going to be found. You know,
yeah,
luckily, you know what I'm saying, the young girl was able to pay attention and be aware of the situation. And that's what ended up ultimately getting them caught. But if it wasn't for that, I mean, like, who knows how many more bodies would have ended up, you know what I'm saying, lost. And then not only that, at the time, we got to remember this too, that DNA wasn't even being used to identify or anything like that, or be used in court at all. So when you look at, you know what I'm saying, all of these missing bodies, you know, at the time it was still 9 people that were unidentified.
yep.
Luckily, you know what I'm saying, because of research and technology, you know, they found that it
I
was
found 6 of them.
yeah, they found 6 of the identities, and there's still 3 people who haven't been identified yet. But at the time they were using what, dental records, right?
Dental records, yeah.
And they were asking people, like, if you have any missing persons file or any missing person case, you know, send in the dental records, and that way we can properly identify them. And you know, saying it's just crazy to see how, you know, going through all that. Like the one family, they had found out that after 2 years, you know, that they family member, I think it was her son. She found out her son was dead, and they found out on Christmas.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So like, just imagine that. Like it's a Christmas day, and then, you know, you trying to do your best to enjoy Christmas. You know your son is missing. You still got hope that, you know what I'm saying, he's out there somewhere, and then you get that call on Christmas Day. And remember, the sister was talking about it, and she was just like, at first, you know, everything was, it was bright, and you know, we were having a good day, and then she said, and then just all of a sudden it was like I was underwater and everything just got dark. And it was just such a sad story to hear, man. Like, you know, out of all days to hear something like that, to hear it on Christmas is, man, that has to be gut wrenching.
Man, you're so right, man. So right. But I mean, like we had said earlier, man, this dude after 14 years of being in jail, you know, he finally got executed or whatnot. Lethal injection is what he ended
Mm-hmm.
up getting, and for him to, I think his reign went from 1972 to 1978, and this dude killed 33 plus
33
victims.
people, bro.
That is
And that's just what we, yeah,
insane.
right. 33 plus
That's
people.
what we
That's just what
know.
we know of. Yeah.
Yeah, the same thing with Bundy. Like
Mm-hmm.
Bundy was, they said that he killed over 30, but that's 30 that they know of. Like
Right.
they felt with Bundy, we believe it's more than 30.
Yeah. I
So
mean, I feel the same way about Gacy. Like, you got to remember, like, this dude was doing construction. So, I mean, ain't no telling if he was stupid enough to hide bodies at construction sites or any of that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
so,
that's a great point. That is a
yeah.
great point.
Because, I mean, for him to be dumb enough or for him to think that he was smart enough at the time to get somebody, you know what I'm saying, at a work site, you know what I'm saying, ain't no telling where his mind was at that time. So he probably had, buried some bodies at some of these construction sites.
Yep. That is a great point, man. I didn't even think of that. That's a great point.
Yeah.
Man, nuts, man. But I would
Yeah,
say,
man.
man, I would suggest. I mean, that's if you're into this type shit, man. I would definitely say check it out. I think that this whole um confessional tapes things of these killers, man. I think it's a way to, I guess, kind of get inside the mind of them
Hmm.
and really just to see how sick they are. Because this dude was sick. Like, I don't even
Yeah.
think Bundy was like sick like this dude was. Like, not like this, but yeah, John Wayne Gacy was sick as fuck. He was sick.
100%. And I mean, to me, man, it's an interesting thing to hear some of these guys talk because you kind of hear about their insecurity. You can kind of hear their insecurities. You can kind of hear, just how, um, and I don't want to use the word sick, but you can just kind of hear just how lost and evil some of these guys truly are. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like, there was, to me, like, there was no legitimate reason for him to do any of this. Um, and then the kind of liar he was, you don't even know what was true and what wasn't. So, that's also a scary thing. Like, that's a scary place to be in when you trying to figure somebody out or you're trying to profile somebody and you can't put a number on it and you can't, identify what the cause of something is or what, what the motive of something is. That's one of those things to where, you kind of pray that you never get, a guy like that again.
But then also, before we start on the Fire Flames, is the fact that he knew and had powerful people in his corner. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what made it even more dangerous. Like I said earlier, like
Yeah.
this dude actually was at Democratic like conventions and all types of shit where the president's wife was. You know what I mean? So he rubbed shoulders with very important people. And to think that someone could get to that level and on the side they killing people, like that's, you know what I mean? That's another scary thought.
100%. 100%. So let's get into the Fire Flames, man. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. This was one of the ones that I talked to you about that I had seen like on a whim. Like, I didn't even remember that it was, what I'm saying, something to watch. But I ended up going back rewatching it. It was super informative. It kept me intrigued. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 4, man.
Okay, I ain't mad at it. I think it was a lot of information in there. It's a lot of information to take, man. They had a lot of footage, a lot of footage.
Yeah.
So I thought that was dope that they was able to have as much footage that they had. So I'm just gonna go a step above you and go a 4.5 because I think that all the footage that they was able to have and the information they was able to give us, they had a lot of interviews, man. A lot of interviews with people that was involved and people that are still alive. So I thought that it was dope that they did that. So I'm just gonna go a step above you, man, and give it a 4.5.
Okay. Okay. Cool, man. So what's our next joint? I can't see it right
So
now.
The next joint we got, man, we got Den of Thieves. You know what I'm saying? This movie, man, when it hit the airwaves, it had a buzz. It was great to see. If I'm not mistaken, I think that this was the first joint that Osei Jackson Jr. did after
NWA.
Yeah, after the Straight Outta Compton movie. So it was very interesting to see him actually play another character that's not his father. And had a huge twist at the end. Like I did not see that twist at the end coming at all. So
this is the one with 50 Cent too, right?
Yes, 50's in it. Yeah. Gerard Butler's in it. Pablo Schreiber's in it.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing. Like the cast members, man, that was in this movie. It was a lot of people in this movie. So he fit right in though, man. For it to be like his second, possibly third move. I can't remember exactly. I think that he did a really, really, really good job in it, man. So it's gonna be fun breaking this movie down because I think that when this movie first came out, like it had a huge buzz, and that slowed down. But you know what I'm saying? That's what we do, man. We gonna try to bring that lightning back.
For sure, man. And shout out to Osei Jackson Jr. Man. He was he's in the new Obi-Wan Kenobi series.
Oh, okay.
He had a nice appearance in the 5th episode. I think the season finale is next week. Yeah, it's the 5th episode. He was in the 5th episode, which was actually one of the best episodes of the series. So shout out to him for being in there. But you guys already know, man. If you guys want to talk to us about the episode, if you guys want to add your input, or if you guys want to request anything, you hit us up on our socials, IG and Twitter at ViewerNinePod. You can also hit us up on Facebook at VA Pod Watch Group. As far as myself, you can hit me up on Twitter at Scoots Bronson. I have a link tree in there. You can click that link and you can find me everywhere else.
And y'all can find me at s.foster8 on Instagram and Twitter at 28 minutes or less pod. That is just on IG. Find the podcast on all major platforms. The last episode that's out up to this point is episode 89 that I did on Felix the Cat Mitchell. I got a very interesting one coming up here soon. Be on the lookout, man. 28 minutes or less on all major platforms.
For sure, man, for sure. And listen, you know what I'm saying? You guys can always hit us up and get with us whenever you want. And you can go back and listen to all the old episodes and everything else. If you new to this or if you just got a favorite one, go check those out. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, it's greatly appreciated. But until the next episode, like they say in Hollywood, man, that's a wrap.
Cut.